Welcome to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Solo Stories. Today's a little bit different. Wait. I ended up getting the World Legacy home art because it looks amazing. Look at it. It's just so shiny and blocking out the notification button. I love it. Anyways, today we got a new solo, but it's way different than you would expect. Because notice how there's nothing here. Today, we're actually revisiting an old story, the World Legacy. And we're continuing on. And I'm guessing this is going to be where the Guard Dragons come in. With the fall of World Legacy World 1, the Guard Dragons awaken. Yeah, okay, perfect. I love when it got into this portion. The Guard Dragons were pretty fun, and they ruined the game for quite some time. For me. And I'm sure quite a lot of people. So this might be a bit of a long one, it looks like. Somewhat long. Where the World Legacy leads. With Babel's activation, World Legacy World 1 tore through the sky and fell on Earth. Oh, that actually explains it. I was wondering about that. Its tremendous mass pierced the Earth below. Just as its devastating aftershock was about to strike the warriors of the Crusadia, a blinding light fell upon Orum's eyes. A light even brighter than from the battle with Ibli. Imduk has used the power of the gods to call forth a gigantic barrier. As the gust of destruction blew past them, the barrier dissipated. Imduk had sacrificed his life to shield the Crusadia. Poor little Duke. With his life force depleted, Imduk falls to the ground. Orum is left speechless as he touches Imduk's fallen body. The body of his invaluable ally. It looks like tears, but I think that's part of his armor. That's so cool, though. A wave of guilt rushes into his mind, as it did once before. There was no time for sorrow for either Orum or the Crusadia. The fall of the World Wand exposed the World Legacy World Arc and activated it. The fallen Imduk was then consumed by the World Arc. The power the World Arc has over life and death was infused with the godly power of Imduk. I don't remember what the arc did, but I remember not liking it very much. And this combination took the form of a two-headed dragon, Guard Dragon Andrake, which then descended toward Aurum. The Guard Dragon had awakened. The shattering power rippled through the planets and reshaped each World Legacy into a draconic form. So this is basically an imitation of the nightmares of what happened. The nightmares took over the different types of mech knights, and they were turned into basically like evil versions of it. And so now it's kind of like things were turning into evil dragons. Kind of like a repeat. Man, they can't seem to win. Even as the world legacies took the forms of dragons, Ningirsu was not fazed by their threat. Ib's revival, that was the sole thing that pushed him forward. Carrying the body of Ib in his arms, he approached the mechanical doll. Using the key embedded in it, he should be able to control even the draconic world legacies. Ningirsu attempted to revive Ib's soul using the key to control the world arc and its power over life and death. And finally, at long last, a brother's wish for his sister was to be fulfilled. The doll slowly absorbs Ib's remains. Smile for me again, like you used to before. Ningirsu calls upon Ib. Ib and the doll become one. The soul's revival is complete. However, The soul now bound within the machine's body was not that of whom he sought for. The smile on her face was not the compassionate smile of Ib, but a wicked grin frozen in place, a smile belonging to Lee, who had merged with Ib's soul. Yeah, that sounds about right. The resurrected Lee took control of the puppet. Using the power of the key, she decimated what remained of Ib's soul. That's odd. She then called upon the now draconic world legacies and consumed them, growing to an enormous size. Yeah, I remember this card. You was using it in crawlers, if I remember. I don't fully. I know that like this version of the World Legacy, there were like a lot of level 9s and stuff like that. She was definitely one that they used. By consuming Ib's remains and the 5 dragons, Lee turned into a monster known as Nightmare, Incarnation Idly. Idly then used the power of the key and the world legacies to create a crawler as large as a mountain named Deus Ex Crawler. See? That's why I used it. Aram and his allies noticed that the spinal protrusion stretch from the Deus was connected to the sealed Great Darkness. As they approached to stop it, a dreadful black dragon blocks their way. It had been consumed by a deathly force and become Idli's vanguard. It used to be Imduk. Now he had become World Legacy Guard Dragon Mardark. Alright. That sucks. That dragon puppy turned into evil. After the battle with the Orcus and being engulfed in the shattering world, the Crusadia was left barely standing. And now World Legacy Guard Dragon Mardark stands in their way. Was it inevitable that the Great Darkness would fall into Lee's hands? Just as Orim was about to give in, a flying dragon lands before Idli. It was Guard Dragon Justitia from the Forest of the Stars. The shimmering blue dragon used its powers to rip out Ib's body. It was bound to Idli. In that moment, it began to shine brighter, enveloping the area with a flash. Then the light gathers. As Orim opens his eyes, he sees the figure of a young girl. The kind eyes of the girl he knew so well. Ningirsu's sister, his childhood friend. Their time in the village, their quest for the world legacy. It shared his hardship and joys with her. It was none other than Ib. She had supposedly been destroyed by Lee, yet she stood before his eye. Orim and Ib were reunited once, and yet there was no time to rejoice as another calamity soon occurred. Idli's body, now separated from the key and its inheritor, Ib, could no longer control the world legacy, went into overdrive. Idli, Howls, and Orim and Ib turn to Mardark, who has suffered a similar fate. To save their friend Imduk from the deathly force possessing him, they attempt to call upon his soul. Their call drives it from his body and awakens his soul within. The awakened Imduk amplifies his life force and is reborn as the divine dragon, World Chalice Guard Dragon, Marduk. That was a mouthful. Alright. Even during the transformation, Idli's rampage continued. And at last, the monstrosity dug up by Deus Ex Crawler reread its head. Upon seeing the abomination, Ib explains, "This is the true form of the Great Darkness. It is the embodiment of the divine power, world years of thurological demiurgy." I've just loved this card. I don't remember why. I just loved having this card on the field. It was so much fun. I don't remember a thing of what it does, but I just know I loved it. And I would summon it as much as possible. Even when I did a full World Legacy deck where it kind of had the entire story in it, a little bit of everything, which worked surprisingly well, but it never won. Of course. But the fact that it did stuff was fun. Now, did stuff is very, vague. I was able to combo and make a board, but it wasn't a good board. But it was fun doing it either way. Sorry. Ningirsu originally attempted to use the key in the machine body to control the Draconic World legacies, and thus try to revive Ib's soul. However, this procedure failed. It instead awakened Lee, who took control of her body and spirit. As Ningirsu falls into despair, a miracle happens before his eyes. A shining blue dragon appears and fuses with Ib's remains. Why are we doing a flashback? We just read this. As a result, his sister, the person he cherished more than anyone else, has returned. Was he dreaming? Is this real? What has happened? As Ningirsu considered this, he feels something reach out to his soul. It was the remains of a fading mind, belonging to the vessel made to house Ib's soul. It was the echo of the doll's final thoughts. It was nothing more than an artificial body, but perhaps through the power of its host, or because of the power of the key, the empty vessel grew a conscience that was neither Ib or Lee. Who the conscience belonged to, or if it was similar to humans, the doll did not know. However, it still had a heart to care for its master. When the newly revived Lee attempted to erase the soul of Ib, the doll transferred Ib's soul to the World Legacy World Chalice in the Forest of the Stars and sacrificed itself to save her. Ironically, this was the same method Lee used to deceive humankind, but Lee failed to notice as the purity of the doll's heart was indistinguishable from Ib's. Having heard this final echo, Ningirsu clutched the sash that had belonged to Ib, the doll, and Galatia, and stood with renewed determination. That's sad. Poor doll. Ningirsu, the Orcus orchestrator. Didn't he get banned? I don't remember if it was him, but something got banned, and then it got freaking Orcus chopped down huge amount. It was stupid. At last, the Great Darkness, the avatar of divine power, had arrived. World gears of Thurological Demergy, facing with an overwhelming foe, Aurum remembered a passage from the Legend of the Star Heroes. Fend off the Great Darkness, Aurum informs Ib and his Crusadia allies of his plan of action. His plan was to inherit the key, which Mech Knight Blue Sky had once attempted and failed. He aimed to use the power to combine the gathered world legacies into a single entity. Assisted by Ib and his allies, he begins the unification. Upon realizing Aurum's plan, desperate nightmare incarnation Idli attempts to stop him. Imduk and the Crusadia gave their all to defend Aurum and Ib. However, Idli's attack was tremendous. Just then, a man with a sash clenched in his fist came forth to face the challenge. It was Ningirsu. He gathered all the remaining parts from Babel and the Orcus and forged a colossal spear. That's pretty cool. With it, he strikes Idli with a ferocious blow. Gathering up all his might, Ningirsu then forges his final and ultimate creation, a creation intended to protect the divine reincarnation of it. It was a colossus combining every Orcus and even the creator himself, Ningirsu, the Orcus of the Evening Star, had been born. Idli continues her rampage, still desperate for the divine powers. Ningirsu, now with the power of a machine god, did not hesitate while striking with his spear. Yeah, this is the card that got Orcus down a peg. Subjected to the fierce assault, Idli's body begins to fall apart. And even yet, Lee's tainted spirit was obsessed with attaining godhood. With her sanity long lost, Lee used Deus Ex Crawler to forcefully bind her soul to the world legacy. In response to her tainted mind, Demergy loses all control. The overflowing power of the gods was enough to accelerate the destruction of the planet. Orem and Ib continue the key's ascension, and their allies stand to defend the two. The planet's destruction looked inevitable, but not a single soul was about to give up. Each and every one stood firm to fight against the divine power. And at last, the ascension was complete. With Orem having inherited the key, he wielded the power of every world legacy as a legendary world hero. Mech Knight, Crusadia Avramax. Starlit hero, your sword gathered in light, may your triumph over the great darkness. Avramax was always such a fun card to use. Getting him out was not that hard either. That's the best part. Alright, that didn't actually take too long. The deck was actually pretty easy to play, honestly. I wasn't really too confused using the cards. I just had to reread everything. Alright. Let's continue. Aurum wields his power to evade, block, and neutralize the thrashing waves of destruction. And he gradually closes in on the rampaging world guild's years of theological demiurgy. Making his way inside it, it was as if he was being guided towards the innermost sanctum. In the sanctum awaited Lee, but not in her fairy form. Instead, she had the form of a human. It was the faint remainder of her consciousness, faced with the woman who had so stubbornly strived to obtain the god's power. Orem asked, "Why did you go down this path?" Lee, standing in front of him, did not open her mouth. Instead, her obsessive thoughts and memories that pervaded the surrounding area rushed into Orem through the key he held. Thirst for knowledge as a woman of science and the pursuit of truth. If it was only so simple, the world may not have ended up this way. But Lee's ambitions were that out of the ordinary. She wanted to discover the truth behind the legends, and she did not hesitate to seek the divine power for herself. Was this merely a coincidence or an inevitable fate? The calamity came about because Lee lived in an era in which the key existed and society was highly developed. More thoughts and memories rushed into Orem. This time, it was Lee's nightmarish plan. The divine powers will be. To obtain them require complete dominance over the power of the key. However, the overdeveloped civilization of machines had sapped the power from the earth. As such, the humans of the era could not commune with the planet and thus could not become the successor of the key. If civilization must fall, so be it. Lee used Project Mech Knight and even her own death as a means to bring destruction to the world. After an eternity, she waited for the Earth and its inhabitants to heal and to find their true heir of the key. And now that time has come, as Lee's glee in meeting Ib and her excitement in gaining control of her rushed into him, Orem clutched the key with anger and sorrow. Lee was driven by nothing more than obsessive curiosity. There was no sacrifice too great for her goal. She had destroyed a civilization and toyed with the lives of many. Though her actions did not bear malice, they were nothing short of evil. That's true. Nothing of what she did really seemed like she hated anybody for it. I don't know. Wanted power. Just for the sake of knowing what it was. The Crusadia, World Legacy, and Ib. Countless times she hid her true intentions, and ultimately she attained divine power. World gears of thorological demiurgy, the primordial form of all gods, a vessel allowing divine deeds in accordance with the will of its controller, the program of transformation. Those who had become gods before eventually lost control of the power of destruction, were decimated, leaving only the key. To avoid that fate herself, Lee laid out her plans carefully. She integrated the crawler in its hive mind to achieve complete control over the divine power. Or so it was intended. In the face of Ib and Imduk, will to sacrifice their own lives, the miracle achieved by the machine doll, and in Girsu's determination, Orem became the successor, overcoming sorrow and uniting people along his journey. Lee still could not comprehend how her plan had been foiled by the combination of their willpower. As the remnants of Lee's mind vanished, the source of enormous power remained unclaimed. Orem, as a successor, needed to make a choice. The demiurgy, corrupted by Lee's evil, has already rampaged across the planet and reduced it to rubble. The power of destruction, once sealed by the gods, grow yet stronger. The power of creation that served as the planet's core was mostly extinguished. Memories of his journey come back to him, the memories of his loyal friends and allies. What is it he must do as a successor of the key? After a moment that seemed like an eternity, Orem makes his decision. As if in response to his will, the power of the key was released. Orem and Demiurgy turned into a ray of light and merged into a single entity. Ooh, that must have been terrifying. Amidst the dying world, a new god was born. Here was Avid, rebuilder of worlds. Orem, now wielding the unprecedented power equal to the god, slowly raised his key, gave a command. The decision he made: bring back all those lives lost amidst this war over the world legacy. And by raising me to godhood, allow me to end the reign of the gods and prevent conflict or divine power from happening ever again. These seemingly conflicting commands were the result of his wishes. Perhaps this was blasphemy, a choice no human had a right to make. But this is what Orem chose. And so Avid, rebuilder of worlds, started the program. Crumbling earth turned into a particle of light and gathered before Avid, rebuilder of worlds. All was engulfed in blinding light. Nice. I believe this is the end of the World Legacy arc. I may be wrong, but I assume this is the end. Countless times have passed since that battle. The war over the World Legacy. At its climax, Orem wished for the revival of the planet and the lives lost. He then disappeared without a trace. The planet was once destined to be destroyed by the destructive divine power. However, the battle scars of the war had vanished like an illusion. Lush green nature fills the land and life blossomed as it always used to. In a world without Orem, one final gift was left for Ib. The key that controls the fate of the planet. The sword with the power of the World Legacy. World Legacy World Key. Ib, with the sword from Orem in hand, set out on a journey to remember the planet that her beloved brother protected. Imduk accompanies Ib, and Ningirsu watches over them from afar. Born anew as the protector of Ib, the planet, he is tasked with ensuring Orem's wish is realized. Is that? Oh, that's so sweet. He's keeping the dead doll body. Might still be alive though. Accompanying him as he supports Ib from the shadows is the new peaceful world is the fairy Galatia. Oh, okay. So she's now a fairy. Under the glistening starlight, Ib takes the sword in her hand and it shines faintly. She and Imduk follow the ray of light towards the sky. Where does this world go from here? Hope is abundant once more. Ib carries on forward, guided by the world legacy to what lies beyond. Very nice. So she's basically traveling the world just to make sure she can see everything that her friend slash brother, I think it was brother. I'm keep getting them mixed up for some reason, but essentially, he wants to see the world that was saved and everything about it. That's nice. That's very cool. What is? You can discard one more legacy card you control. Tribute summon one monster. Is this true? Okay, well that's pretty cool, I guess. And it gives you 3 of those. That's pretty. Ah, this is nice. Evermax. Freaking sick, dude. Orcus, Evening Star. What is this one? Sleeves? No, that's the arc. No, that doesn't matter. What's the world arc do? Treat as 2 tributes. That's probably one of the reasons. If a Link monster you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Okay. Well, there was a reason I didn't use him, and I think I remember why. I don't fully remember, but I did not use him. Either way, this story is finally finished, and it is good to actually see the ending. I was waiting for this specific one. I didn't know it was going to do all of it, like just the full-on rest of it, but dang, that was pretty nice. I liked it. And if you liked it, leave a like on the video, and I do other solo stories whenever they release. I do it as soon as I find out. I do not do the SP deck challenges. They tend to be quite boring, and I do not want to do them. Just saying. Solo stories only. But if you have any requests, do not hesitate to comment and, issue something. Other than that, thanks for watching. Have a good day, night, evening. Either one's fine.